What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea, episode 201. As we have passed on to the 200s.
We've ascended to godhood.
We've ascended. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, thanks for joining us on this Saturday afternoon, well, midday Granny's Peach Tea. And we actually only have a movie to discuss. A rare episode. This isn't the first time. I feel like it's happened once or twice. We literally just
doesn't happen often.
No. But we do have a movie that it's probably appropriate that we're doing it on a Saturday afternoon. Like,
yeah,
right? Like,
dreary,
I can see this.
Rainy, miserable Saturday afternoon. This is the perfect time to cover Swamp Thing Return.
And also, I just kind of feel like this is a movie that I would have stumbled, either one of us would have stumbled upon on USA or Channel 9 or something like that in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. You're kind of just bored in the summer and like nothing else to do. So
this is a movie I am surprised I did not come across on USA's Up All Night back when I was watching it. Like, this is the perfect movie for you. Like, perfect movie.
Yeah, right? But thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube or wherever you found the audio on the podcast, we always appreciate the support. And I am Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up, man? What's going on? How's your week been?
Weekend's good. I got my last day of classes tomorrow. Then it's Regents Week, so that's great. I've been down another cinema rabbit hole. I've been taking because we've had a little downtime because we've just been watching some movies. So I like to counterbalance all the comic book stuff, good and bad, that I have to watch here with other things. So in commensurate to how bad the last two movies have been, I have gone super film nerd and I've been watching silent films because I actually love silent.
Wow.
Films.
Okay. All right.
So I watched Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is not the first time I've seen it. Great fucking movie. Probably the first movie with a twist ending.
Really? Like ever?
Yeah, I think so. This is like 1921 or 22. It's literally one of the first movies ever made. It's
okay. All right. Interesting.
What else have I watched? I've watched Nosferatu because I want to watch that remake. I'm actually very excited to watch the remake, but I wanted to watch the original first.
Okay. So
a lot of good German expressionism. I did like a 20-minute Alice in Wonderland. That was rough. That was rough, but not because it was bad, just because A, I know the story very well and they cut out a lot, and B, the costumes. Like, if you do yourself a favor one night, just go back and look at some costumes like from movies like that, silent movies, because it's like nightmare fuel. Like, they're disturbing looking. They're supposed to be creepy and ethereal because it's Alice in Wonderland, but now looking back, it's just really disturbing.
All right, like as soon as we sign off, I'm gonna have to Google this Alice in Wonderland silent film and see what comes up.
You have to. It's a bizarre little thing. But yeah, so that's been my thing. I think I'm gonna start getting more into film noir movies lately. I've watched an Orson Welles version of The Trial, which was not silent, but very film noir. The Trial, which was by Franz Kafka. So I had to really counterbalance the crap I've been watching for this show the last couple of weeks with some real obnoxious cinema, with a capital C.
Well, I mean, for those who may not know, like, we're not just comic book guys, right? Like, Jason and I love all kinds of movies and stuff.
Yeah.
We both love horror movies as well, and other films, studied film and stuff like that. Not that we're super, masters in film and all that, but no, we love our movies and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes the way we do consume so much comic book material for this show, and I feel good about we really do our homework for this. And yeah, I agree with you though. There's times where I need to just unplug it and watch something else, like completely.
Yeah.
And I think I do a solid job of like watching shit that we don't cover and has absolutely nothing to do with this stuff. And it does. You're right. You kind of need the palate cleansing to go on, especially when we go through a rough run.
Yeah, it's different. It's different when it's like we're doing banger after banger, right? It's different when it's like, you know, we're into the MCU now and we're in the excellent phase where it was banger. Like then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go. I don't need a break. Let's go. But then you're like this Alan Moore run, it's been hit or miss, right? Like From Hell was rough.
Mm-hmm.
V for Vendetta is fantastic. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was rough. Watchmen was fantastic.
So much Watchmen. So much Watchmen.
So much Watchmen. So much Watchmen. And now we're getting to the Swamp Thing. And I'll tell you something, man. If I had no prior knowledge of what Swamp Thing was, and you just sat me down and watched these two movies, I'd be hard out forever, no matter what you said. And it actually makes me happy I didn't see this stuff when I was a kid. Like, I kind of avoided it as a kid. Like, I kind of knew this was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never would have actually read the Alan Moore stuff if I had seen these movies before. Because I'd be like, no, Swamp Thing sucks. Not even Alan Moore could do something good with him.
Yeah. These are the first times I've actually watched these movies in full. I feel like I've seen like snippets at times, maybe clicking around or something like that. Like I wouldn't be shocked. Like some of the imagery from the Return of Swamp Thing, I do feel like I've seen before. Somewhere at some point, not like just besides like the picture and back in as our background this week, right? Like that is the cover of the poster of it. That I'm pretty sure I've seen in like Captain Video and local video store, like in Glendale and everything, and growing up, and I've seen imagery from it. But I kind of do feel like I've seen certain scenes, and I had an idea of what we were getting ourselves into, but not like fully, which is why it's fun to go back and watch these things, because then you really truly understand what the hell happened here, and our adult brains can like comprehend what the hell it is and like detail a lot of this stuff. So and as I mentioned last time, like my stuff with Swamp Thing has been some animated stuff. I've never really read Swamp Thing, and the series that Ginny and I had discussed last week was, I did watch the series that was on, and that was the other end of the spectrum. Like, it just seems like nobody's been able to fully adapt Swamp Thing into live action, like, properly just yet, at least.
Yeah. And it's an interesting character, like, especially with the Alan Moore stuff when he did his run. I kind of wish that show was better. I wish it met its potential. I just wish it was a bit more Swamp Thing in it, to be honest with you. But it was just so much about the politics of the Bayou, because I did dip my toe in. I didn't hate it. I just got bored. And it's because it's like, I'm here for Swamp Thing. This isn't called Bayou Politics.
That would be a show. Come on, Bayou Politics.
I would watch that show, but not expecting Swamp Thing. I might like it. But if you tell me Swamp Thing's in the mix and I don't see Swamp Thing, I don't give a shit about your Bayou Politics.
No, it's true. I agree with you. That's kind of was my issue with that series was, and without getting into it too much, because I know we did last week, was, I just felt it was boring. It wasn't enough Swamp Thing, and it was just flat out boring. Like, I just didn't give a shit what was going on after a while. But me and you were both like completists. So we know you had to push through just to see the end of this. And I also knew it was one season. I already knew at that point they weren't renewing it. So I was like, all right, I might as well just get through it and that's it and see what's up. Yeah. And then, no, nothing. But before we get into the movie, though, there is something I did want to mention. Like, I had been in Florida in between shows, and I visited our friend Rick, friend to the show, Rick, and we hung out a bit. We went to go see Metallica twice. They did like a 2-night show with like no repeats, different set lists and stuff. That was cool. I actually got to meet Jada in person at the second show. Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Jada and I met up in person. We were going to meet up the first night, but it didn't work out wise. We were already both in our seats and we were sitting nowhere near each other. So the second night, like between Pantera and Metallica, we made a point to meet up. We hung out for a little bit. We chatted and stuff. That was it. So that was cool. I mean, again, like we do this podcasting stuff, and we actually got to meet. So that was cool. I got to meet his son and his friend also. So that was
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. No, it was for sure. And during the trip, though, Rick and I made our way to a comic shop called Emerald City that's in St. Pete. It's in Seminole, I believe. And yeah, we got some stuff. I grabbed some comics because it's been a minute since I grabbed like physical comics. And I did get the graphic novel of Superman Woman of Tomorrow, which I know Ginny had mentioned last week. So I'm halfway through that. I'm probably gonna finish it. I'm gonna try to knock it out this week when I've got a minute. But research for the show, because that supposedly is what Supergirl, the movie's titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So that's supposed to be the inspiration for it. So I did kind of want to see, next year when we get to see the movie, like a comparison and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting though. It's a pretty dark story so far. And I've never really read too much Supergirl up until now at all either. So
I don't think I've ever read any.
No, this is, I'll tell you something. When I'm done with this, Angie said that this would be, I'm trying to get her to read this because it would be her first comic book she's ever read.
Nice.
So if I can get her to do it, if you want to borrow it, you're happy, more than happy to loan it to you. You can check it out, and then, again, little research for this, and it's cool. We could actually just read, because our exposure is mostly, squirts, and the CW show.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I would like to borrow it. I would like to read it before we cover the end of the show, of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. And I also picked up the first 2 issues of Predator versus Spider-Man.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that existed.
So that Marvel and 20th Century Fox are doing a series of crossovers in the comic books this year, and that's one of them. I think it's supposed to be 4 issues when it's done. There's also a Godzilla versus Spider-Man that I have to get. I didn't get a chance. That's a one-shot, though. So I meant to go get that. We never went back to Emerald City to get it, but I'll probably pass by Forbidden Planet or something, and grab that when I'm done. But that was interesting. And I know Craven is involved in Predator versus Spider-Man, which has me pretty hyped up to see how that works.
Is this like an Elseworlds thing, or have they revived Craven?
No, I think this is just like a one-off, kind of like Elseworlds story. Like, this is just what it is. Because one of the issues, one of the crossovers is also Godzilla kills the Marvel Universe.
Oh, okay. So these are just their own. Okay, that's cool. I think it's kind of awesome that Craven is in the Predator one. I'd be okay if it was just Craven versus the Predator. Like, even if you take Spider-Man out of there, I'm still into it.
Yeah, I would be too. I'm interested to see it, but I'll definitely be, sharing as I'm reading it. I'll drop in what's going on with that so far, because that's pretty cool. I prioritized Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow first though too, because I started reading that on the plane back. And I kind of want to knock that out before starting Predator versus Spider-Man. But yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff though.
That's awesome. And that's awesome. I
want to take a guess. You want to take a guess of some of the titles Rick bought?
All right. Hawkeye.
No, that would make sense.
What? West Coast Avengers? Oh no! Wait, this is going to be nonsensical even for Rick.
I feel like I've seen some of this in his. No, some of this is up his alley. He was regretting. I was trying to get him to buy West Coast Avengers because there was a new issue with Wonder Man.
Okay,
but he didn't bite. But then he regretted it the next day, where he was like he wanted to go back and get it. He bought Dazzler. He bought a couple issues of Dazzler.
That's on brand for Rick. Yep. I actually like Dazzler, so I can't make fun of him for that.
No. We were laughing about it even then. And some of it was Marvel Team Up, which featured Spider-Man, the New Mutants, and was it Dazzler? I think it was. I think it was Dazzler.
Wow, he was on a Dazzler spree.
He was. He was also getting some of these because he uses it to do his comics, the Kid Never Dies series and everything. So he was doing some of that. But when I just looked at what I was buying and I looked at what he was buying, I'm like, yeah, checks out.
That sums it up.
That makes sense. I'm buying more Spider-Man comics. The Supergirl one, I mean, I've gotten some random stuff just to kind of like do a little extra research on a movie that's coming out and stuff like that, at least for comparison purposes. But yeah, I've never bought Supergirl before, so I mean that was the first time for me.
I'll say this about Dazzler. Dazzler may be the smartest X-Man.
Okay.
All right, and here's why. Because Dazzler was given a power that it's not going to help you fight Magneto. It's not going to make you super clutch on the X-Men. So what did she do? She went out and she became a fucking singer, and she does her own pyrotechnics. And that is brilliant.
No, it is actually.
Because, like, Jubilee's got similar power, and Jubilee's like, come on, take me with you. I'm going to scrap. And it's like, no, you're not, Jubilee. I love you too, but your power's kind of useless in this context, not in reality. Like, I would love that power, but, like,
yeah, so would I.
On missions with Wolverine to fucking track down the Silver Samurai. Jubilee, you going to do with that light?
No, just blind him temporarily. That's about it. Like, I mean, that's as far as it goes.
That's your only move, and you can only do that once when they're not when they, no pun intended, don't see it coming.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, it was fun. I do have some fun popping into comic shops here and there, and we'll see, because it seems like when I do this, I tend to get sucked back in for a little while and start getting back into, like, reading again. But I'm definitely gonna finish this Spider-Man Predator versus Spider-Man series, because there's no way. As soon as I heard that was announced a while ago, I'm like, I gotta be in for this. Like, this has gotta be crazy.
I think I need to search that down and read that, because I actually read the Batman versus Predator comics, which which is one of the things I always point to when I say Batman is the best, because he fucking beat a Predator twice. He beat 2 Predators. You know who didn't do that? The star of Predator 2, Danny Glover. He only beat 1.
That's
Arnold Schwarzenegger only beat 1.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is true. So that, I mean, so he fought 2. He was being hunted down by 2 predators at the same time.
Well, no, he did it. It was
2 different series.
One, yeah, it was a series. There were 2 of them. The first one was a predator came to test him. He won. And then the second one was a rogue younger predator broke the oath of not coming back because the Earth was under Batman's jurisdiction according to the predator race. And Batman had to put that motherfucker down too.
I think I might have to jump into that as well, because that sounds pretty fucking kick-ass though.
It's worth a read. I might reread it again. It's worth a read.
That's definitely, yeah. If they got the collected, like, graphic novel version of that, I think I might have to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, because when I'm not collecting for, like, one-off issues, I like to do the collected graphic novel. I know it's not going to be worth shit, but it's not about that. It's all in one shot. No. I get to sit down and read it, and that's it, instead of, like, buying random issues.
That's it. Look, I'll tell you, the very moment I realized that no comic book I was going to buy was ever going to make money, and I should just enjoy it, appreciate it. And that was Sleepwalker 1. Remember, we all thought, at number 1. Number 1.
Yep.
I think Sleepwalker number 1, which I still have, because I love Sleepwalker. The fans of the show know that my biggest problem with the multiverse so far in the MCU is I haven't gotten to see Sleepwalker. But I think Sleepwalker 1 is worth less than it was with what I paid for in 1992. I think I paid $1.50. It's $1.25 now.
Wow, Rick and I were talking about Sleepwalker actually when we were in Florida.
I'm glad. If anyone is going to talk about Sleepwalker, it's going to be you and Rick. I just wish I could have gone there Jedi style, just as a Force ghost, just for that conversation. Like, Sleepwalker. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
A long time. All right. Well, let's get to it then. Get to. So, for those who have been following us for a little bit, we've been going ahead and doing our run of films that have been adapted by Alan Moore's work and recapped by Jason perfectly not long ago before we got into our comic stuff. And that brings us to The Return of Swamp Thing, which is a sequel to Wes Craven's Swamp Thing. This one was 1989, if I remember correctly. Though?
Is it a sequel?
Well, I mean, I will say this: it is a sequel because they did acknowledge the events of the first film
while ignoring them.
While ignoring them at the same time. It's interesting. Well, and they use footage from the first film when when Holland was talking about his story. So they know it existed. Like the writers of this knew on some level that this existed. And there were two returning actors. The two leads did return. So in that sense, okay.
I'm going to make an analogy that you're at first going to hate. But once you think about it, I think you'll agree.
Okay.
Swamp Thing 2 is to Swamp Thing 1 like Evil Dead 2 is to Evil Dead 1. In the sense that, I'm not saying it's quality.
I get it. No, I get it.
But we're going to bring back all the originals and we're going to say the exact same story while somehow acknowledging the previous story. And this time it's going to be a comedy.
Yeah, no, that's actually no. And I'm going to say I do not hate that analogy because I completely understand it. And I am 100% on board with your analogy. That's a good one. That is
all right. Because I'm not saying it's as good as Evil Dead because that's what I thought I was implying. Like, I'm not. This is
no. Jason, I know you better than that. There's no way you would do that. There's no way you would do that.
No,
not at all.
This movie is just the first movie with building on the camp with jokes and Heather Locklear. But it's the same fucking movie.
Yeah, essentially I agree with you. I think it ratchets up the comedy to that. It doesn't this movie definitely does not take itself seriously. I do think that and there's also yeah, sure, this looks like a more expensive movie than the first one did, which I will also put air quotes for that as well.
Yeah.
Because it's still campy, it's still cheesy, it's still I saw the budget was $3 million. So obviously not even for 1989 standards, that's not really a lot.
No.
And the acting in this movie is significantly worse than the first movie. But I also think some of it is on purpose because they're trying to lean into the camp. I get it.
I agree. I think every time Heather Locklear winks at the camera and tells a joke, you might want to blame her, but I don't think it's her. I think that's what they were going for. Do you know the first joke she tells? Get ready to ROTFL or whatever the fuck that is. I'm old. I don't know. Right, but I actually wrote down the first joke of the movie because she's the comedic cut-up. She's the one telling the jokes.
Yeah,
she's not funny. I don't hate Heather Locklear. I think she is a good soap actress. I think she was great she was on Melrose Place, right? That was her big.
Yeah, I was going to say Melrose Place, right? Is that the one that was her big role, I think.
Yeah. And I think she was great on that from what I had seen of that. I think she's gorgeous. So she's got talent, she's got looks. She's not a comedian and not star grade I'm carrying a movie actor, but this is literally her first line. Hey, I guess this is more exciting than that TJ what name. Do you guys get it? Let me explain to you a 30-year-old joke that wasn't funny in the first place. Heather Locklear was in that show, with Captain Kirk, who played TJ Hooker. TJ, what's his name? It's it wasn't funny then.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I clocked that too and was I'm just looking at it. By the way, I pulled up her IMDb, and I didn't know she was on Dynasty also.
The old
TJ Hooker. Yeah, no, she was. I don't know how big of a role I don't know how much of a big role she had though, but Melrose Place, TJ Hooker. So yeah, she was mostly TV. Spin City, she was on.
Yeah, and she's great in TV. I think she's a TV actress, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. She definitely was probably on 2.5 Men at some point.
Yeah, if you were pretty at any point in the 80s, you were on 2.5 Men. Mostly
Yeah.
because you probably slept with Charlie Sheen in the 80s.
Well, I mean, yeah, probably. She was in Firestarter? Huh.
Shit.
I didn't know that.
Maybe that's our next deep dive, her career.
Well, it's not going to be too much of a deep dive, to be honest with you. The movies are definitely few and far in between. Yeah, she's mostly TV show, but I also know she got a Razzie for this as well, for the Return of Swamp Thing.
But, like, she's not the worst thing about this movie. I mean, come on, the Razzies pissed me off. I mean, she's clearly been given the direction to be funny, and she is not the worst thing about this movie. How does she get the Razzie?
I don't know. The only thing I could say that I really did clock that I thought was, like, really tough with her, besides I agree with you, the jokes that don't really land, is the first scene that she's in, when she walks into that, like, I don't know what it is, office or something, and she's talking to those plants that have, like, name tags on them, and her assistant that has no lines. She completely goes off on this entire tangent where she was reading some sentences without the periods or anything and just kept going straight through it. You know, like, it was almost like a challenge. Like, can you read this in X amount of time? We got one shot. Let's go. And that was, when I'm watching the scene, I was like, oh my God, is this what we're in store for the rest of this film? Thankfully not, because everything after that, you know, it was more like she was a person speaking at some point. Like, that was just completely reading off a damn sentence, the whole thing, that was it. Like, you know, we talk about like Christopher Walken, supposedly takes out like stuff and he just kind of like reads it. That's what she was doing, but she ain't Christopher Walken, so it comes across a little differently.
So Christopher Walken in any role in this movie, I think, could have saved it.
Maybe what if Christopher Walken was like Arcane?
I honestly, that would be perfect casting.
It would be, right?
It would be, yeah. And but you know what though? This was before the Chris Walken Assance. We're like 4 years away, 5 years away from Pulp Fiction. But they absolutely could have gotten Chris Walken, because Chris Walken famously, because he grew up a poor Queens boy in Astoria, he'll take any role you offer him as long as you're paying him at least scale, which he has to take for the the union. So they could have gotten Chris Walken, is what I'm saying.
Man, they would have got like, I mean, would you? I don't know if I was about to say prime Chris Walken, but not really, right? He was still Christopher Walken at this point, but like, he wasn't like prime.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't become huge again until after Pulp Fiction and True Romance, which he has a little dalliance in. But we're getting like young Chris Walken, who was just off of the Dead Zone.
King of New York. King of New York.
The King of New York. Yeah, he's right off the King of New York. Which that's a movie I need to rewatch. That's a fucking Queens movie. I think they filmed part of that in Ridgewood.
Yes, I believe so. Actually, I believe so. I did like, since we're talking about the opening of the movie too, like the thing right before the wacky Heather Locklear scene is there. I do like the opening of this, the credits with the comics and stuff. That's cool. I thought that was kind of interesting, right? Like they were actually using comic panels. That was cool.
Yeah.
The opening scene of the movie, though, with those morons in the dark, in a bayou, in a swamp, walking around, and one of them drops his glasses. And I shit you not, I got Troll 2 vibes when he drops his glasses. Because when he's like, oh God, oh no, please don't. That didn't hit you at all? I'm shocked.
It didn't, but I was already turned off by this movie of like
the opening scene you were already done.
I was already done. Yeah. So I didn't clock that. But also, let's be honest, Troll 2 is a much better movie than this.
Wow. Zing! I'm not saying you're... Listen, I'm not saying you're not wrong. Because of entertainment factor.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Entertainment factor.
What is what is one of art's purposes? It's to entertain. What's another? It's to make you think and discuss. It's
No, you're
just
right.
out there enough that you have to think about it and discuss it.
No, you're 100% right. And yeah, there's this weird battle that goes on, and there's this fight, and there's this there's this monster that has 2 scenes in this movie that randomly pops up and completely out of nowhere rises out of the swamp and is about to, like, I think he kind of looks like Man-Thing in a way.
Yes, he does. He's got this big like mouth.
Yeah,
Like it's like a big anteater mouth. So weird.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was like a gag at Man-Thing or something like that, but like he shows up, he's chasing down this guy who lost his glasses of this crew that are doing God knows what, actually, because we don't actually find out what they were doing in there. They were just there because opening scene needs to happen. And Swamp Thing just randomly appears, as he does throughout this entire film, to save this guy. And, we get like a little Swamp Thing hero theme, and he beats the crap out of this thing with his hands and hand-to-hand combat, and opening credits starts.
There you go.
The randomness of this beast showing up in 2 scenes, and how Swamp Thing happens to just be strolling on by to save the day twice, is so fucking weird. It is so weird.
Yeah, it's. I guess the swamp is like Hell's Kitchen, where it's like 5 blocks by 5 blocks. So if that's your area, like that's why Daredevil always finds trouble, right? He's fucking in 10 blocks. It's the same thing with Swamp Thing. Like it's a very small swamp. There's a lot of bayou rangers out there looking to do questionable, nefarious things. So yeah, he's always always run into it.
Yeah. And then we catch up with Arcane, who is the nemesis of Swamp Thing, who is returned in this film in human form, is played by Louis Jourdan, who has got top billing again in this movie. And
he's the best thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the most like legit, actor, actress at this point. But he's there, and at the end of the last film, he was turned into some sort of monster. The pig monster, who he fought in the final act of the first film.
And that's what I was saying. This movie like acknowledges, like, yes, I fought Swamp Thing before, but like does not acknowledge or explain why this guy isn't a fucking pig anymore. They do say something like he was dead and we brought him back. But they never say and turned him back into a human because he was dead and a fucking pig.
They don't say that. I will give them credit, though, that they do give you, with the very little explanation that they give us later in the film, by the way. Because the first half of this film, I kept on thinking to myself, why and how is Arcane a human again? Like, this makes absolutely no fucking sense. If they don't address this at some point, I'm going to lose my mind. I really was. That was going through my head for a majority of this film. And then, we get that quick throwaway line about how. It's extremely vague, and they're probably just like, science. That's it. He's back. And that goes on about how, in this film, he wants to... I guess they're saying that he's going to decay again, and that this is only temporary. Yeah. And that he's, he needs to like reverse the aging process, which I don't really know how that saves one from being the pig monster and being returned back to the pig monster, because he is now working with some scientists that are doing gene splicing and a very, very bad job at it, because we see a bunch of gene splicing that's gone wrong. One with like a cockroach.
Yep. Oh God. And also this gene splicing, the key to it also luckily happens to lie with his stepdaughter who's come to visit. Wow.
What a coinkydink.
I cannot believe that these two things were not somehow joined together. Like, just as I'm talking to you about this, right? hear me out. I'm the script writer. I'm the script doctor, right? In 88 or 87. They asked me to do a pass on this, and I go, okay. So first off, instead of having a disparate monster that never comes back again, and never explaining that you have turned your former pig monster bad guy into a human being again, why not explain at some point that they are the same creature? Because though they've reversed the pig stuff, and you say that, it has caused him to go swamp-like every now and then. Oh, now he can transform and have a big fight at the end, and that creature makes sense, and we've explained the pig thing. Oh, and guess what? You find out that he married his ex-wife specifically for her genetic coding, because he's been working on this aging thing forever. And though, yes, he didn't kill her, it was an accident, we can leave all that he did love her stuff in, he then realizes he needs Heather Locklear, so he reaches out to her, not she just appears. Because all of these things could make sense within world.
Or you wonder if I'm going to hope that was written at some point and somehow ended up on the editing room floor. I'm going to try to help the movie out. Try.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You would be helping the screenwriter out while fucking giving the editor the treatment from Misery.
It's true. It's always in the details, right? Like these things just don't. It is. Everything you said is 100% on point. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. But instead, we're given, his stepdaughter is gonna randomly show up and wants to visit him to investigate her mother's death. Randomly, at the same exact time, he happens to be having his gene splicing going wrong, and he needs it to somehow reverse the aging process. That's the bullshit we get instead.
Yeah,
and right. Swamp Thing has been walking around for 7 years just randomly. He is right. That's what he does. He kind of just patrols.
That's it. That 10 block by 10 block radius of the swamp. That's his. That's what he did. Just patrols it. And I think what's fucking crazy too is like with the villain. Before we get away from him.
I got more on him.
Okay, good. They will not, like in the first one, he was evil with a capital E, right? He pretty much went, I'm going to experiment on my top goons. In this one, he's like, he's not evil, but he's not good, right? He's like, I don't want to hurt my stepdaughter. I just need her genomes. I didn't want to kill my wife. I loved her. Now you can sympathize with me. And it's like, one or the other, man, because it would have been a much better moment if she's there, like, randomly investigating her mother's death because someone left her a clue somewhere, and the turnaround at the end when he's got her strapped to the table about to take her blood, which never happens in this movie, is him going,
no.
Who do you think left you that clue?
No, he does get they do get a sample very randomly. And it's absurd.
That's the thing. Yes, it's very randomly, and it's like in with the most possible care.
Yeah, I mean, we do. This is around the time though where we get the scene where we do find about the gene splicing again. We get the explanation. He needs the mother's stepdaughter's. Well, I think they mentioned about his wife's genetic code holding it. The only person left obviously would be her daughter, and she happens to be on the way to them from California. But I think they do mention that the host would die or something like that, right? Yes. Do they, or did I just plug that in myself?
No, the host could die. It wasn't guaranteed.
But he's like, he goes Ivan Drago and is like, oh, if she dies, she dies, essentially.
Okay.
I guess.
At the end. But I think it would have been better if it was like, and that was when he had no choice. That was when the doctor turned on him because somehow that doctor also, right, had some genetic shit he could have used.
They randomly pull out that one of his random goons and the doctor also have some sort of genetic coding, and that's when he's going to turn on the doctor, and he tells the other one that's splicing everybody, again, that they could die, so fuck it, whatever. And that's the chick that's one of his head doctors that he's also banging.
Yes, and it's one of those things that's stupid and makes no sense because, all right, so he's going to turn on his, you know, copulation partner and
His
head
lady friend. That's
scientist,
it. It's his,
his
again,
lady
whatever.
friend.
Yeah.
I was going to say fuck buddy, but I was trying to be nicer about it. Lady friend's
Oh.
better. But he's going to do all of that because he doesn't want to risk hurting or killing his stepdaughter. Like, I don't, that was just too much for me. Like, is this guy a villain or isn't he?
Oh my God. I just made a connection I didn't realize. The actress that plays her name is Sarah Douglas, right? Who plays Dr. Lana Zorel. That's Ursula from Superman 2.
Get the fuck out of here!
It's funny because during the movie I kept looking at her and I'm like, why does she look really familiar to me? And I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was, and I didn't want to I was trying to figure it out on my own.
Yeah,
that's Ursula from Superman 2. She's just got like longer hair in this. That's why I think kind of throws me off.
That's what it is, because I always picture her. I didn't recognize her at all. I always picture her with the fucking pixie or whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I did not realize that's who that was. That's crazy that she was in like another DC adaptation that we're covering.
This movie just ascended a step. It doesn't help it, but it ascended a step for me.
Listen, it's got to try. You got to work with what you got, man.
Exactly, got to work with what you got.
Which isn't much, but
two women in a prayer.
That is fucking wild. That's who that is. Because throughout the movie, when I watched this earlier today, and I'm like, damn it! I kept looking at her face. I'm like, who the fuck is this person? Damn, that's crazy. But yeah, so they're hooking up and stuff, and then you're right. There's a point in the movie where she overhears that, decides to turn on him, helps the stepdaughter, right, escape.
Yep.
And then is told like he's with her again. They're literally in bed together when they get disturbed. I guess she was gonna go run herself a shower, and Dr. Arcane tells her to go run a shower, and she forgets that shower, by the way. She runs it just for the sake of the story and keeps it moving. That never gets acknowledged again. Because that's what Swamp Thing does what he does at that point. But I don't want to jump to that. I do want to back it up because there's more lunacy that happens in this film, which says a lot. Dr. Arcane,
considering what we just touched on.
Exactly. Dr. Arcane also decided to hire a orange jumpsuit security brigade that looks like they're straight out of like some sort of Roger Corman film.
Maybe Roger Corman was filming on the next set over and he had a little extra time on it.
If you told me this was produced by Roger Corman, I probably would be a lot more accepting of a lot of things.
It would take 3 steps up if it was produced by Roger Corman. It still wouldn't help, but then it would be a whole 4 steps up from where it started.
Or if it was like canon or something like that, like I would be like, oh, okay.
Oh, if this were canon, I would be gushing about the effects and about how cohesive the script was, because for a canon movie, this is gold.
So that monster that we talked about in the opening scene does randomly return again and decides to knock on the door of this house on this one random night where these 2 kids, and they've got to be what, 12, maybe?
Yeah, they're middle schoolers. They're middle schoolers. They decided, since their parents weren't home, they were going to break out the nudie magazines that the dad has. I'm going to say this. I love that.
Because they show us what they're looking at, and they're not nude, actually. They're just not.
But I was actually okay with that because it kind of lent to the naivete of these kids that this is their pornography. But yes, I also love the kids coming to the house like, knock, knock, knock. Yeah, what do you want? Your parents aren't home. You said you'd sell me some pornography. It's like,
yeah, right?
Some pornography. It's the most batshit thing. One of the most batshit things in the movie. and it was probably my favorite moment of the movie, which is funny because it had nothing to do with Swamp Thing. It was just two kids in porno mags.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and I do think it would have been a little bit odd if we would have saw kids that age in a movie looking at like actual naked, like nudie magazines. It was funny for that sake, but I also thought it was just air quotes, not real nudie magazines. No. But of course, then there's some banging at the door, and they go to the door, and random creature from the opening scene is there, terrorizing them and screaming for no reason. They slam the door in his face, and they're running away from him. And then, of course, they get outside, and Swamp Thing happens to be strolling along down the street and decides to engage this beast again. They fight, and they suddenly take random metal poles, and they're clashing them together as they get into this weird metal pole sword fight. And there's electricity building when they're clanging them together.
Dude, I don't know, man.
I'm no science major, right? But no. No.
Yeah, no. Knowing all weird. Of this, like, I love this. What we didn't see is Swamp Thing walking up going, well, this was first time I'm here tonight. I was about to turn around, but something interesting is happening over there. Usually I'm just walking around all night for 7 years.
No, I would have loved to have seen Swamp Thing at that point walking down the street like with Stop and Shop bags or ShopRite bags at some point. And he was just like, oh shit, look at that. This motherfucker's back, ruining my fucking night. I thought I had a night off. I was just gonna go home and watch some TJ Hooker. And now this is happening. Fuck.
Dude, oh my god, I want that movie.
We're writing a better return of Swamp Thing right now than I think this guy.
We are, absolutely. Stop and Shop bags. Like a 6-pack of Dos Equis. Like, I was gonna just relax tonight. Fucking thing.
Oh no, Swamp Thing would definitely have something more in the bayou that would be totally. It would probably be like Natty Ice. Or maybe something way off-brand, like that's local. Some shit.
I agree. It would be some local. It would be the shittiest local beer and a bottle of moonshine, but not that garbage moonshine you could buy legally now. Like an actual taken from a fucking hillbilly still bottle of
like the moonshine that those two are drinking later in the movie?
Exactly like that.
So yeah, they have this like metal pole sword battle that produces electricity for no reason whatsoever, and then Swamp Thing wins again, and they talk about how the kids talk about how he's kicking ass, and then they kind of give each other a thumbs up, and they just go on with their days, with their evenings at least, which was really fucking random.
But don't worry, those kids come back. They are the hard second subplot in this movie.
They 100% come back for no apparent reason later on in the movie. But then Swamp Thing he meets Abby now at this point, because she escapes, right? Because this was that's not the. She happens to walk around town. She finds because she cut herself. Remember, that's when she cut herself with her mother's ring, because that's how they were getting the blood.
That's how they get the blood.
She says she doesn't need a Band-Aid. She just needs fresh air, because that's often what happens when I cut myself. I refuse a Band-Aid and decide to go get fresh air because the next scene needs to happen. Is there any other logical reason why that happens?
No, there isn't. But I mean, it's the same thing as turning on the shower. The next scene needs to happen, right? Like,
exactly.
If I don't make this stupid mistake or meaningless action, what the movie just stops here? I can't let that be on my shoulders. How
do we get from this scene to this scene?
Right.
I got it. No Band-Aid, fresh air walk. Let's go. So as Abby's walking around, she runs into these two rednecks who are sitting there drinking moonshine and who are discussing how they haven't seen a woman in forever. And then, of course, Abby strolls into the scene. They see Heather Locklear, which they're like, obviously like she's been sent by the angel. They start talking about like how one guy says like when she says she's from California, they don't like California, but then the next line is they do like California. Bit confused by it. But obviously, there's some sort of harm that will come to Abby. And then, of course, after on his nightly stroll, after battling this guy in the random monster, he happens to come across this. And then he decides to save the day again. And it is completely ridiculous.
I love Swamp Thing's got a new set of bags. Like, fuck.
All I was trying to do is get home to watch this TJ Hooker season finale, and these motherfuckers keep ruining this.
Look, there's no TiVo yet. There's no VCR. I gotta be home. I gotta be home in 20 minutes.
He's got to be home at 8 o'clock to watch this thing. Otherwise, he'll never see it again. So it's important.
It's very important.
But Jason, this scene gets really preposterous, though, because outside of what I've already mentioned, he saves the day. They're there. They're walking. And then immediately around the corner, the orange jumpsuit security team surprises them, and they don't hear any of them coming. And they kind of they go ahead and they are shooting at Swamp Thing, and they shoot him into the bayou, and then Abby gets abducted again, and he gets blown up by a grenade, and we see him like form into the water, and he goes, and of course that leads us to the next scene where we find out that's when we find Arcane is apparently getting it on with the doctor. And that's when the whole weird run-a-bath thing happens, and then it's divulged that she has this genetic code and overhears that they're about to, like, kill her as well. So she's like, fuck this guy. I'm going to help out his stepdaughter and get her out of here so he can complete his de-aging thing. She runs this bath, walks away. Of course, the water that comes through is all green and slimy and liquid, and Swamp Thing ends up reforming in the bathtub. So he's in Arcane's house. What the fuck?
Well, you know, it makes perfect logical sense. You see, we blew Swamp Thing up, which means his swampness was all over the water, but it wasn't so far. It wasn't a big explosion. It was a small one. It left it pretty much around in the same area, which just happened to be the pipe that takes all of the bath water. That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah, these were some more head scratchers that were going on, and I had to like pause it for a second just to gather my thoughts.
Yeah, and then there was this weird electrical current when Swamp Thing reforms. Like, I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, it would have made more sense, and this wouldn't have made any sense, but it would have made more sense if there was like a radio that was set up by the shower or the bath, and you know,
blow dryer,
Final
maybe,
Destination style. A wind blows open a door, which scares a mouse, which runs over to the table and drops the thing, and it electrocutes the water, and that brings Swamp Thing back. Now, I know that doesn't make any sense, but that would have been something to fucking look at.
You're 100% right. But instead we get
yes.
And then Swamp Thing has returned, literally in the movie. He has now returned. So hence we have the title now.
Hey, they did it. They said it. They said it.
That's yep. There's the thing. There's the thing. They did it. But while this is all going on, Abby is with the head of the orange jumpsuit security named Gunn, who is
God. We didn't talk about this derelict yet.
Oh, this motherfucker tries the most bizarre flirtation with Abby, where he's pushing her out of nowhere. It's like, come on, baby. Yeah. Let's go. And then like they start talking about some sort of like I don't know, she was gonna like show him something, and then she wants to see something else. He takes that as innuendo and drops his belt, and then she punches him in the nuts to get away, which is like her favorite experiment. The line is something like, my favorite science experiment is vasectomy, and like punches him in the nuts.
Yeah. Oh yes. And then directly after that, he recovers way too quickly for any guy who's ever been hit in the fucking nuts. All right. And I'm not even talking about in a fight. I was kicked in the groin accidentally once by a student, so on accident that they like they were apologetic. Like it really was a freak accident. And let me tell you that I was on that floor for at least 10 minutes.
No, this guy's no problem. Remember, he has all those scars that we learn about later in the film.
Yeah, yes, right. The weirdest seduction scene I've ever seen, but I was into it because at least it was something to look at.
Well, that and this seduction scene, I don't know which one is worse that involves this guy Gunn. Because both of them are fucking bizarre.
They don't
make
really
any kind
bizarre.
of sense.
No, really, really fucking crazy.
So during this Swamp Thing saves Abby, they go on this ride, they escape the thing, they go to his like little part of the swamp where he describes as jokingly as his bachelor pad and stuff like that. And then comes
I do a lot of ordering out.
Oh yeah, and then there is the seduction scene between those two, between Swamp Thing and Abby, where she, for the second movie in a row, the female lead instantly falls in love with Swamp Thing, just like that, after just meeting him. I am starting to wonder if he has some sort of, besides his sex shroom thing that he produces off himself, he has some other weird mind control thing over these women, because they have this discussion. Oh, go ahead.
I think he is giving, because he's a fucking plant. He's giving off this weird pheromone that affects women and makes them think that, like, it activates the part of the brain that makes you feel love.
Mm-hmm. That could be
fucking date rape. This is date rape, Swamp Thing date rape right here.
Oh my god.
Too dark? Did I go too far for this Saturday afternoon show?
No, it's fine. I mean, listen, but my mind went even worse. I'm like, did he start doing like a freak off? Like, is this with like Diddy and stuff? Like, where are we going with this?
Oh my god, I just hear Diddy like, yo, Swamp Thing, you passing through? Nah, we doing the crazy thing tonight. The thing we can only do when your pheromones are in the room. Bring the lube, bitch.
Get the baby oil. So then they have this scene. There's this discussion. He's in love with her instantly, which I guess you get it, right? It's Heather Locklear. We understand.
Yeah, and he's Swamp Thing. He's literal fucking Swamp Thing.
Yeah, he gets it. He's out kicking his coverage now. Like, we understand. Yeah. He's going above. So, but he says it like, hey, I can never love you the way you wanted it to be loved. And she acknowledges that, but her response is, well, I'm a vegetarian. Whoa! Hey now! Wow! And though he instantly produces this, like, what I'm going to call the sex room, where he produces this thing. They both take a bite of it, and then they go into like this hallucinogen thing, where I guess it's supposed to be like, they're both naked, but they, carefully film it so it's not like really naked, and I guess they mentally have sex. And
so I think in the comic,
and we talked about this last week, because I was actually going to kind of give kudos to the film for at least understanding something in the comics.
Yeah, but I just wish they would have explained it for the people who weren't Swamp Thing heads, because that's nowhere in this movie.
No.
That's us drawing from our knowledge of the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I'm watching
it,
good. No, it's not good, because I didn't think about that when I was watching it, because I'm not I like the Alan Moore run of Swamp Thing. I'm not like a stan. I'm not like Jimmy, where I would like fucking defend it to the bitter end, But so I'm watching it, and I was literally like, what? Why did this just happen? Where are they? I was left with so many questions that I was like, this isn't sexy, guys. This is perplexing.
It was very perplexing.
Even the knowledge of the source material is still fucking perplexing. Like, why is Heather Locklear giving it up on the first night she met the Swamp Thing? Because it came to her in a dream state as the guy under the swamp costume? It makes no sense.
So also during some of my reading up on the production of this movie, I did find out too that apparently during this brief scene when they filmed it, there was a like body double that went ahead and filmed the scene with her, who she couldn't stand this guy, and was like wanted to be done with it like completely because he was like extremely full of himself, I guess.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Again, random guy. You're filming a scene with Heather Locklear. It couldn't be so bad.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Not even look. Even if you're not sexually attracted to her, I mean, she's not a repulsive human being. What are you doing? You know?
That was weird. And then we also see the kids return after this. Not in this exact thing, but the kids are in the swamp again. They get the short heavyset kid's camera. His dad's camera, who, by the way,
his dad is camera. That's my dad. You can't give that to them. That's my dad.
Please don't do that. Yeah, he was like mortified by the idea of this. Yeah. It was so weird. Please don't do that. It's my dad's camera. They get attacked by the orange jumpsuit security team, who I guess randomly just they're all kind of like out and about. Like I felt like it was almost like Benny Hill, where they're kind of just like running back and forth. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I needed that music in this movie throughout. They try to like take the kid's camera and everything like that, and then Swamp Thing happens to be in the area again, shows up, gets a baseball bat, and beats the shit out of these guys with it.
now at this point, he had made it home. Yes. And he was like, you know what? Now I'm all amped up because I had to fight a couple times. I'm just going to grab my baseball bat and do the thing that makes me Swamp Thing unwind. And that's, go hit some pitches at the...
He went to the local batting cage, maybe.
Yeah, the local batting cage, exactly. And, he had his fucking hat on, and he was going there. And it was like, oh, motherfucker, again. Like, can I not walk 4 blocks without running into a problem?
No, apparently not. And then he goes and is going to take a picture with these kids, and then that kind of gets disturbed because they want to make money off this picture.
Yeah, they estimate they can make $1,900. They say it was something randomly specific.
Yes, it was something.
And then that's the plan. And then they see Swamp Thing, and like, hey, can we take a picture of you for a science? For a science project? And it's like, just telling me we're going to make money. Come on, he's not stupid. If I was Swamp Thing and you tried to lie to me like that, I'd be, get the fuck out of here, kid. Go back. A science project? What fucking science project?
Holland's a fucking scientist. He should have just called them out right there. We're like, dude, what science project is this? I'm a scientist.
Exactly. But, just go up and say, hey, look, we're going to try to make $1,900 off this. I'll cut you in for $100. I mean, you know what the fuck you need it for? Batting cage money?
It's true. They needed change for the batting cage machine.
That's right.
All right, and then we get the scene later on where it gets into the third act where Gunn and one of the other heads of security, which is other woman who is there's 3 strategically placed women here. Like there's Heather Locklear, there's who we didn't know was Ursula, who looks completely different than with long hair in this movie, and we get Poinsettia, who is another part of this movie. Who's just like she just kind of randomly shows up in low cut shirts with a machine gun in a couple of scenes, and that's kind of her thing. And her and Gunn are talking about scars, and they're exchanging stories about scars, and they're dating them for some weird reason. She even says Motley Crue concert, 1988 or whatever.
Yes.
And they're going back and forth like that. And then they're like, you're about to get it on, but are instantly disturbed by Swamp Thing trying to save the day again, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that out of everything they might have edited that would have connected this movie to make it make sense, that it didn't dare touch this weird fucking scene between 2 B-list villains that goes nowhere anytime. At any point,
instantly goes nowhere.
Instantly. That's 5 to 6 minutes you could have cut out, and you could have left in some connective tissue I get set you here on the search for your mother's, killer or whatever. Think about that. 6 minutes.
You could have done the story so much more service with that. But now we need this hokey, weird sexual because let's just also address this. There is a very bizarre sexual, I don't know if you want to say innuendo thing that's going on throughout this movie, like between Gunn and he's trying to go with Abby. Then there's obviously Swamp Thing, and then there's Abby, and then there's Arcane, who apparently is, getting it on with Ursula at different points in time, like throughout this, because I think it's like 2 different scenes where he's disturbed from supposedly having sex, but has like the proper pajamas on and stuff like that, and they're kind of just laying in bed, and he's all proper, and she's completely naked because he gives her like a robe to put on.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's really weird. It's really fucking. This movie seems to be like it was supposed to be, like it wants to have the feel of a like Skinamax type movie, but it's PG-13 and just won't go there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all right, so I wasn't the only one who kind of had this feeling where it was like, you almost felt like there's an R or X-rated version of this film, but this is not it.
Yeah, they're definitely like trying to ape an aesthetic without actually going enough in. Because if you made this a stupid Roger Corman movie, right, like with tits and balls or whatever, I mean, whatever, something inappropriate, then maybe you got something. But you're right, this toes the line. It's like I was saying with the villain before, but I think that's the whole movie. It's trying to toe this line of like, I'm a comedy and an action movie, so really I'm neither. I mean, that's what it is. I think it can't. I'm an R movie. I want the R movie, cachet, but on a PG-13 budget. I'm not going to give you what you want out of it, but I want like that aesthetic. It's just garbage.
Or, I guess what I always thought of this movie from before actually watching it is I always thought this movie, I guess, to be what I know of Toxic Avenger to be.
Yeah.
Like a trauma movie, right? Like, it looks like it wants to be in the marketing and stuff, and like even the imagery and stuff, but it isn't at all.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If it was a trauma movie, it would be the king of all trauma movies, because this looks leaps and bounds over a trauma movie. If you just get rid of this comedic, well, no, you keep the comedic shit because it's weird,
you need that.
And that's
you need that.
kind of the trauma shit. But like, get rid of this like pretension of being for kids, and just lean into being a fucking trauma movie, but like a top tier A++ trauma movie because it has some money behind it. Like, that's a better movie than this.
Yeah, because the things I will give this movie is like Swamp Thing looks 1,000 times better than he did in the first movie, like costume wise, like practical effects wise. Even like the random beast that shows up twice, he doesn't look bad.
Good. No,
we just don't get any explanation of anything to do with him whatsoever. What he is, who he is, why is he doing anything, or nothing.
Yeah, why is he in the movie at all? Because he adds nothing. It doesn't. This is just like a sea line. The fucking monster gets its own sea line where it's just bothering kids and snuffing around. I mean, but it comes to nothing.
Nothing. And also the random gene spliced like creatures that we get who are kind of in the background for a lot of this. They don't look bad at all. No, it's just they don't do anything with them.
That's it. The practical effects do look good. That's why I didn't question if this was a movie like I did the first one, right? Because the practical effects are, I think they're top notch for the time and the budget. Like, we're not talking fucking Jurassic Park, but we're not talking that kind of money either. But I think it looked good. I think the first one, it looked like a guy in a fucking rubber suit. This actually had some articulation. I think they were able to do a lot more with what they had with the suit. They invested more in the suit. So I think this is a good looking movie.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree with you. For 1988, 89, this movie looks fine for what it is. I still have a feeling like this also still seems like a TV movie to me. At times, or maybe slightly above that.
Yes. I'd say slightly elevated. Like it's
like a direct to video movie back then.
That's it. That's exactly it. Direct to video, because a little more money than TV, but not as much money as an actual film.
Yeah, like a big budget theatrical release, which this was, which is kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
But then also I think that ties into, because we're at the third act now, believe it or not, and there really is no big fight. Like, we get Arcane is on this device where his stepdaughter is on the other thing, and he's like, they're trying to like transfer something from her, a life force or something from her to him to de-age him, and he seems to say he feels like he's 50 something again, but he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. It's almost like they ran out of money at this point.
Dude, absolutely. It's almost like it went, we're going to do the thing we set up in the first act, but fuck the science. We're just doing it. Don't ask. You know?
Yeah.
Because the whole thing was supposed to be you harvest her fucking DNA or whatever that unlocks the key. That's science shit. That's not like, oh, guess what? It's just done.
No, we get blue waving again, light blue waving going from her to him. But then there's no like real, I don't know what that was. It was so, that's why I was saying life force or something. I don't know. You don't ever explain what the hell is happening. But then we don't really get a showdown between Arcane and Swamp Thing again. Like, there's no like real final battle. He just kind of like dies because it doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. He does the equivalent of having a heart attack right before the big match.
Yeah, right? Like, there's no fight, because I thought he was going to mutate into something else, or Swamp Thing was going to fight all the... He was going to... Yes, like a pig monster, maybe. Something like that. Or I thought maybe because this all happens in the room where all those, like, kind of like I guess you want to say reject gene splicing monsters are, but nothing happens with them either. I thought he was going to fight them or something.
It would have been nice. Something. You set up the random monster that is attached to nothing and no one. Then you set up this whole array of really interesting looking rejects that have their own power. Like, but what's our end fight? An old guy has a heart attack.
Yeah. It just, there's this ooze in my hand. That's inconvenient. And then I'm dead. And then he walks away with Abby, right? He walks away with her, takes her back to his swamp bachelor pad thing, which again, his words, not mine. And he brings the, I knew it was coming. Like, I'm sure you all knew. Like, that's right. Swamp Thing has this healing factor that he had in the first film.
Yep.
And I guess they remembered that. He brings her back to life. She's revived. And he's like, oh, there could be some side effects. And we see like a little like daisy pop out of her foot. And then there's a silhouette shot. And I guess it was like Mrs. and Mrs. Swamp Thing, all happily ever after, going into the sunset. Credits.
Yeah. I never realized how much Shrek 2 cribbed from this, or Shrek cribbed from this. Like,
oh, I mean, hey, listen, if that was the case, but I could also see Shrek like maybe cribbing or just joking, inspiring. I don't know, whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm just being. I'm just.
No, of course.
I don't think it really Shrek really stole from this, but it is the fucking plot to Shrek 2, is it not? Like,
it's true, actually, it is. Which is funny you bring that up, because believe it or not, that's the only Shrek movie I've ever seen. Was 2.
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't know why I saw 2 and I didn't see the other ones. It makes no sense. But
all right, I mean, watch one. You're not missing anything else in the other ones.
No, I mean, it was funny. Like, I found it funny, but I don't know. I guess, yeah, I don't even know why the hell I saw it too. But that's it. That's the movie. Like, I didn't forget anything, right? Like, that is.
Oh, that's you hit all the important parts. And again, there's not a lot in this movie. There's not a lot going on. There's a lot of weird side shit that come to nothing. I mean,
constantly. The whole movie is weird side shit that comes to nothing.
Right. Like, maybe this movie is less a cohesive movie and more a string of interesting vignettes in the world of Swamp Thing. Maybe it's disparate comics, right, within the world.
I don't know. It was.
Yeah.
So I will ask you this then, though, Jason. So we both agree this movie not good at all. We gave it a couple little things here and there, right? Like, the opening credits were a positive thing. I kind of dug that they at least acknowledged the source material on some level. the practical effects are cool. Like they're way better than the ones in the original. So I think that's a plus.
The Swamp Thing and the villain, they were good. I thought, acting wise.
Yeah. No, there was nothing wrong with them. I mean, they were not given a lot to work with, but
no, right. And I would say Heather Locklear is a positive in this. Like she's not perfect
outside of her opening scene, yes.
Yeah, outside of that, and she's not perfect, but she's trying to keep the levity where she can, and it's not her fault that she can't deliver these lines. She's not a comedian, but she's fucking trying, and I enjoyed her presence in this movie.
Yeah. Which one's better? Swamp Thing or The Return of Swamp Thing?
I think The Return of Swamp Thing, but that's like asking me like which is worse, the big hunking pile of dog shit or the little tiny dried up cat shits. I mean, I don't think either. Or gun to my head, I'd rather take the CW journey from start to finish than watch any of these two again.
Oh man,
because that's Bayou Politics, but that's fucking Bayou Politics nowhere in these movies. They're boring as shit.
Oh my god, that's tough. So I will say, yeah, I agree. I think The Return of Swamp Thing I would definitely go with over Swamp Thing, which is, I can't believe I'm saying that because this is bad. But really at least there's something I can. I gave this movie more positives than I did the original. The original was just really boring. It looks like shit. I don't remember ever saying much positive about the original at all. This one is definitely a little bit better. I do think this movie just needed to decide what the hell it was. I feel like it wouldn't commit to being anything really. And that's where I think what drags it down is that it won't choose. Just choose a fucking path, man. Just go all in. And I think you get a better movie. Significantly better movie if you just chose which way you wanted to go with it. Man, over the CW series, because I'm going to be honest, I really did not like the CW series. I thought it was really fucking boring. I'm going to tell you the truth. I think I might choose this over it.
Wow, okay.
Only because this is an hour and 24 minutes.
That's fair.
It's not.
That's fair.
It's not. What was it? 9 episodes, I think the series was.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit through 9 hours of Bayou Politics. That's my reasoning. And listen, I get Heather Locklear at least.
Yeah,
versus
that's
whatever
true.
was going on there. There you go.
That's
the bar's low. The bar's low. Bar's real low. It's getting real low.
Limbo.
And we did say, right, or Ginny said that there was a USA Network series, wasn't there?
There was, and I think if I remember, I've got to see if I can find this. I will, because I would not mind watching some of that, because I desperately want to see this character in something I like.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh shit! Is this? All right, so I've discussed this before. I don't really trust a lot of the Google stuff because it says 1990 series. So wow, that was a year after this went into. There are 3 seasons of this.
All right, look, hey, that's promising.
And 10 episodes. Oh, let's see, no, maybe not. 11 episodes. Okay, so. And I guess they got Dick Durock to come back and to do this.
And you know what? If that's an episodic Monster of the Week show that looks like this, I'm in. Like, this
browsing it
would be a good television show. Like,
72 episodes.
Shit, all right, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna see if I can find this somewhere.
And Anton Arcade is recasted in this. I guess it's a continuation. I guess it's a. No, it's not. Unfortunately. Oh my dude! If that was the case, we would be covering this. We're not done with Swamp Thing yet.
No, that's right. We're going all 3 seasons.
Oh fuck that! We're all 100% going in on Swamp Thing. Then, if it was Chris Walken as Arcane.
That would be fantastic.
Oh man!
I kind of wish it were now.
Oh man, do I really do wish it was. Oh, but so I just wonder if it was. I'm gonna look it up. I'm just kind of my own curiosity. If it at least acknowledges the events of the two films, and it is a continuation. I guess it is.
I would assume but again, I think like this is a continuation of the last movie, right? They're gonna pick and choose shit they want to carry over, and they're gonna just cut the rest away, not acknowledge it. But I'm more forgiving of that in TV than I am in movies.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair enough. All right. So, anything else on Return to Swamp Thing before we wrap this thing up?
No, I'm kind of just glad we're done with Swamp Thing because, oh god, I need to wait a little while and then reread the Alan Moore because I need to remember why I like this character in the first place. And I think the only way I'm ever gonna fucking be on board with the future Swamp Thing movie is if I get Etrigan. You get me Etrigan in that movie, then you got my interest. Until then, fuck Swamp Thing, man. He's just poorly managed character that's very good.
Well, like I said last week, though, that is on a docket of announced movies by James Gunn's DCU. So,
and if
James Mangold is attached.
If anyone's going to put Etrigan in that movie, it's James Gunn. Even if it's just building the world, baby, building the world out, which I'm fucking for. Give me Etrigan in my Swamp Thing movie because he is a big part of the Swamp Thing, lore. They become pals. They're going to fucking racing events and shit together.
Maybe that's who he was going to go hang out with and watch T.J. Hooker when he was going to the store. He keeps on getting.
Oh, Etrigan's going to be so fucking pissed at me. I'm going to hear him rhyming my fucking ear all night.
I, for one, though, I will say that as far as the reboot of Swamp Thing and the DCU, I'm looking forward to it because, even though my 3 official interactions with this character on screen have not been good, I do like the little bit I've seen of him in the DC animated films. So I do. There's something there. Again, with James Gunn and the DCU, I'm pretty excited for what we're getting, between Superman and stuff, and we got Creature Commandos and stuff. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt. And James Mangold also did 2 comic book movies that I really enjoyed. And the Wolverine, we went over it, and then Logan is fucking phenomenal. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this. Yeah, no,
I mean, James Gunn buys you a lot of points in my book, and James Mangold attached buys you even more. I'll be there, of course. Well, I mean, we'll be covering it, but I'd still be there even if we weren't, because that team is interesting, and I've seen them do really well by characters, so there's no reason for me to doubt them until I see otherwise.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so that wraps it up for us then this week. Thanks for joining us as always. If you joined us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check out Granny's PhD's Facebook group, where we share a bunch of articles and other stories and stuff like that don't make the show. It's a lot of fun, so come check us out there. Check out popculturepros.com and also popculturepros, the actual website.com. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, subscribe to popculturepros.com. There's a lot of other cool stuff on the network and wherever you found your audio-only podcast. You can come check out popculturepros.com, as well as past episodes of ours if you want to catch up. Jason and I, we will be back next week. We'll discuss as far as topic goes, because there's a couple of things that we want to discuss. We have no TV shows just yet, because one more week with no TV shows, and then we do get Ironheart, which will be dropping 3 episodes at once. So one more week of no more TV shows, so we shall see. So we will announce that, what day, what time, and everything like that, and what topic, because there's a lot of finagling we might have to do behind the scenes. But thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Later.